Welcome learners. In this session, we're going to explore all the tools that you will need in order to create your perfect Flutter app. In fact, I'm going to take one step forward and explain you where all you can download the stuff. We are going to explore the IDE. Well, what is that? A place where you can type your code, and IDE stands as Integrated Development Environment. I'm going to highlight few features that Flutter comes bundled with. That's something hot restart and hot reload. As we are going to create our first base project, you'll understand how the entire Flutter app with the default app gets created. Next, the entire Flutter app needs a backend SDK known as Flutter SDK. Where to download it and what is there inside the Flutter SDK we'll explore, but for now you're going to try and understand that the SDK has got all the rich set of widgets, tools, and in fact all the libraries that the core Flutter team has developed. What we're going to next do is, using these tools, create a very small project, and I'm going to lay down a stepping stone of what that project is going to be. All these things shall be covered in the video, so do watch it till the end. Let's begin with listing all the tools that you will require in order to get started with Flutter app development. The number one is either you need an Android Studio or something called as Visual Studio in order to have your development IDE. Second, you'll have a Flutter SDK, and that you'll be getting from the flutter.dev website. And third, you'll need either a Windows, a Mac, or a Linux laptop in order to have this entire thing to run. Let me explain you where you can download what. Heading over to Google, you can just search up download Android Studio. Now you'll be getting the latest version of Android Studio from developerandroid.com, and you can download it from here. Presently, when I'm trying to record this video, the latest version is Koala, and I'm going to create all the live examples using this particular version only. So yes, I'm going to stick to Android Studio. Well, what I'm also again going to do is run the entire app on my real operating device. That's because when it comes to my Windows laptop, I just cannot create a virtual device that will take around 4 GB memory out of my computer. That's because, let's say, when we are trying to create an emulator, the emulator is again a virtual device which will take up RAM. Let's say the minimum RAM I give is 4 GB. Given the circumstance in which I'm recording this, I have a lot of devices connected to my computer. I probably have a good webcam with which I'm trying to record, a microphone with which you can hear me talking, and also a pen tablet with which I'm writing on the entire screen. This all devices cumulatively is extracting power out of my RAM. Again, if I create one more emulator, that's a 4 GB cut on my RAM. Hence, in order to save my precious RAM memory, I'm going to stick to my own real device for doing all the app runnings. Well, that won't get applicable to you because on your learning end, or even when I am doing any kind of a development for my office, I prefer to use emulator. This virtual device has got so much benefits that you can actually do anything that you would want to do in the Android operating system, that too not harming anything really on a device. This comes with all the benefits that you have multiple device resolutions in which you can create phones, tablets, and even run your app for your Android TV. Now, coming to the Flutter SDK, when you do a Google search, you're going to get to docs.flutter.dev, and over here, depending upon which operating system you would be using, you can click upon it. Then you can click on Android, and over here in the download and install section, you can also download this Flutter Windows and whatever would be the stable version zip file. Now over here you can also use VS Code to install, but that will require a few commands. Well, like I showed you how you can download Android Studio, same steps go with Visual Studio. I carry a background for Android app development, and hence what I try and do is stick to Android Studio for doing all my development. I kind of know all the shortcuts, kind of remember all the commands, and things are very easier for me when I stick to Android Studio. Needless the scenario, please do not be replicating me exactly how I am, neither with the design which I would create, neither the studio or Flutter things that I would be using. What I diligently want you to follow is, upon the tutorials, I'm going to give you knowledge and concepts that probably you need a trainer for. Perhaps only things like this will be helping. Otherwise, you have Google that can help you with all the other necessary software development. A trainer's job is to impart knowledge. I would want you to be very creative, try to design your apps according to your imagination, and try to play along with all the things that you could have probably into your imagination. This will give you a motivational boost in order to have your own app to have running in front of you. Next, what I'm going to try and do is going to Android Studio. I'm going to create my new Flutter project. Over here on Flutter, I'll select next, give the name as Hoping Minds Base. Well, that's because we're going to create numerous projects depending upon what exactly the concept you're going to learn, and in this case we are going to work upon the base of the Flutter, hence Hoping Minds Base. All the code that we would be doing, I'm going to push to a GitHub so that you can access them freely without any concerns. Next, what I'm going to try and do, give this as hopingminds.base. Well, what's this organization? Let's go to Google Play. Now, if I search for any kind of an app, let it be WhatsApp. When I tap on it, you notice com.whatsapp. Well, that is kind of a package identifier that nobody in this entire world can actually use com.whatsapp and create an app that gets uploaded to Google Play Store. Well, in this case, if I were to show to you with yet another example, considering Instagram, when I tap on it, you'll notice com.instagram.android. Well, in same way, I'm heading over to create com.hopingminds.base. Now, the reason I've selected Android and iOS is because the other environments presently are not relevant, and hence I don't want stale files to sit in my project. So here I am clicking on create. Upon create, you'll notice one entire project to be getting displayed from scratch with a sample code. there will be a bit amount of analysis that you can see at bottom down corner over here. This analysis is the initial analysis, like if you have all the things been installed correctly, if you have anything which is not going to run in the project, is going to hamper, or if it is anything that the SDK is missing, will get highlighted here. Probably if you're following the steps, you would not come across a roadblock. Meanwhile the analysis is going, I'm going to switch this directory pane to project and want your attention to be on the library structure. You'll notice Android and iOS. Well, this has got two separate directories on Android and iOS. But are we going to write even a code specific to the platform? No. Like I spoke about the entire introduction for Flutter, it's going to stand as a single code base for my entire app. Coming on to the left, yes, here we are on the main.dart file, which stands as an entry point to my any code. Let me try to run this and have my default Flutter project to get installed. Over here, you can also notice that it actually shows my device that you can connect. In case if you're using an emulator, you're going to get some kind of a device name like this. Now, if it's a pixel emulator that you're creating, or if it is any other emulator that you will be creating, you can get that name on the device manager. A green dot resembles that the device is active. This graded task is what we have been discussing in the introduction. As I have connected my Android device, in another few minutes you'll see one .apk file to get generated. That's because when it comes to the device, Android is going to understand an APK. Had it been a scenario like iOS, it would have created a .ipa. So for example, when you're trying to run any iOS code into a simulator, well, that's what Apple calls a simulator, a virtual device. Over there, you'll notice .ipa file, and then as my APK gets installed, let me open my Visor. Well, Visor is my screen sharing software. I'll click on view device, and this is what my app looks like. You have a counter which basically would increment when I click on the plus symbol. Now, starting next session, I'm going to go into the details of the code structure. Hopefully the toolbox wasn't very wide range. That's because we got primarily two things to be explored. One, the Android Studio or the Visual Studio IDE. Second, the Flutter SDK. Now, in the next session, we're going to have the entire main function, or in fact, how we will have the entry point into the code so that we can enter into our awesome app. All that will be covered from the basics, but in order to do so, you need to stay tuned and keep learning with open minds.